Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today, as usual. You guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, stopping them from rewriting history, guys. And in this video, we're going to do a comparison. This is a subscriber requested video. Shout out to my man, Vernon Lee Warren, once again. Always coming through, always supporting my channel. He asked me to do a video comparison between LeBron James and Karl Malone. And I thought that was a great idea because we've often heard LeBron James called Karl Malone or referred to as the Karl Malone of this era. And they, sometimes people make these comparisons. We talk about LeBron James and that basic tomahawk dunk he does. And I've told you guys that's the Karl Malone dunk, right? That's the mailman dunk. So I thought it was a good idea to do a comparison, but we're going to compare the longevity between these two players, not necessarily the overall games versus each other and where they rank versus each other, who's greater than who, but let's compare the longevity of both of these players because this is what LeBron James is being celebrated for, his longevity, and we're going to expose it compared to a Karl Malone, guys, and you'll see and I'll highlight how LeBron James' longevity is really fraudulent and it's really not as great as Karl Malone's. And I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states that's been supporting my channel. Once again, guys, I am truly, truly humbled by all the support, man. It really means a lot, guys, for real. Like I said, shout out again to Vernon Lee Warren for sending me the super thanks and requesting this video. I know sometimes I don't get right back to you guys, and forgive me if I don't, answer a question or do a comment or do a video. Maybe I didn't see the comment, guys, but I really appreciate the support. So all you guys, everybody in the membership, man, thank you very much, guys. The real, true basketball fans are standing up, man. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys, like I said, man, this was a video request. Once again, shout out to Vernon Lee Warren for requesting this video. And he wanted me to do a comparison between LeBron James and Karl Malone. Now, we've probably heard, or you probably heard people, over the years call LeBron James Karl Malone and, make that reference to Karl Malone as far as how LeBron James plays a game of basketball in this weak soft era, right? He tries to use his physical size, right? His physicality to be effective in this era where you're not allowed to use physicality. So oftentimes people will, make a joke and say that LeBron James is just Karl Malone or is a Karl Malone type of player. And when you think about it, because I never really thought about it as far as their comparisons or the similarities between their games. But when you really think about these two players and we think about the longevity, that key word there, guys, longevity, right? This is what LeBron James is being promoted for. He's being celebrated for his incredible longevity that no one else has been able to duplicate. And I've told you guys many times, it's fraudulent. LeBron James' longevity is not that great. Once again, it's overblown. There is no true longevity. And we've talked about this, right? The lollygagging on defense, right? Standing around, literally just standing on the court, not doing anything, right? Load managing. All of this stuff has helped LeBron James to continue to be able to play today. That's really what, that exposes it right there. And I've told you guys what? The man's never made an all-defensive team in his 30s. Not even in his 30s. Not once. Not 30, not 31, not 32. Never made an all-defensive team in his 30s. Right there. Right? That exposes some of this quote-unquote longevity. He's never won an MVP in his 30s. So once the man turned 30, never won an MVP, never made an all-defensive team, has been load managing, walking around out there on the defensive end, right? Just not giving the consistent hustle like that, not giving that consistent effort. So when you think about the longevity, it gets exposed right there. Where's your longevity? How great has LeBron James been playing? But the man hasn't won an MVP, hasn't even made an all-defensive team, not even an all-defensive second team. Once again, in this weak, soft era where there's really no legit all-time great defenders, not like when Karl Malone was playing, the level of defensive players that were in the league when he was in the NBA, it was a completely different league, right? Once again, the standard has been lowered today for these guys. So let's think about the comparison and the longevity aspect between a Karl Malone versus a LeBron James. Okay, now I've told you guys on this channel that there are several players to me that have greater longevity than LeBron James. We've talked about Michael Jordan on this channel. Michael Jordan's longevity is greater than LeBron James, guys. Yes, it is. It truly is. If you look at the resumes, you look at their careers. Once again, Michael Jordan in his 30s was the greatest scorer in the league. And he was one of the top defenders in the league simultaneously. LeBron James never sniffed that. Never sniffed that. That was in his 30s, man. Michael Jordan won several MVPs in his 30s. Once again, and when we talk about the domination or we talk about the longevity for LeBron James, they never promote, or when they promote LeBron James' longevity, they always make it seem as if LeBron James is dominating the league. They love to use that word. He's still dominating. But if you think about LeBron James, let's think about since he's been on the Lakers, let's say, the last 6-7 years now since he's been in LA. The Lakers have been a mediocre basketball team at best, guys. At best. Yes, they have won the bubble championship. That's great for them. Every other season in LA, LeBron James' team has finished in a play-in spot. So this domination that they're talking about, these stats that he's putting up, they have not equated to wins. They're not impacting the wins. It's literally been Anthony Davis as the best player on that team with some quality role players, guys like Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard. You guys remember Dwight Howard in the 2020 Western Conference Finals? The job that he did on Nikola Jokic defensively? Go look at that game and the numbers that Nikola Jokic put up in that series compared to the numbers Nikola Jokic has been routinely putting up lately, and you'll see the impact of a Dwight Howard on that series. The physicality of Dwight Howard on Nikola Jokic in that series, it was effective. It mattered. It impacted the game. Anthony Davis' two-way play in that series, sensational, right? The other play of guys like Danny Green and, KCP, some of these other guys that were on these teams that contributed, right, to the team winning. Alex Caruso, right? Some of these players that were on that team, man, and the Lakers won a bubble championship that no one respects. But every year that LeBron James has been dominating in LA, the Lakers have been a bubble team. They've been a playing team, guys, every year. So really, how are you dominating, or what impact are you having on the game? You're not really having an impact on the game. So yeah, you might be averaging 25 points a game and 8 rebounds and 7 assists, right? You might be doing that, but you're only playing 60 games, right? How many games has LeBron James averaged in LA? Average. He's probably only averaged 55, 60 games at best, man. There were seasons that he played 50 games, 40-something games during those years since he's been in the Los Angeles Lakers uniform. So once again, you're not impacting the game like that, not like you used to. Not to be saying that he's dominating. They still say he's dominating. He's not dominating. He's out there being carried by the NBA referees. How many free throws have the Lakers gotten over their opponents over the last several years, right? A lot, guys. So you've been getting help from the referees, from the NBA, and you've been being carried by Anthony Davis and your teammates that we keep hearing every day or every year that they're not good enough. The team's not good enough. So they fire the coach. They want to trade this guy. They want to trade that guy. And you notice that nobody wants to come play with LeBron James. So LeBron James is so great, he makes everyone around him so much better, yet still every year, none of the free agents want to come play. Klay Thompson didn't want to go there. DeMar DeRozan didn't want to go there. Kawhi Leonard didn't want to go play there. Paul George didn't want to go there. Nobody went and played with LeBron James. Nobody wants to go there. Because once again, LeBron James is not a great teammate, doesn't make the players around him better. And once again, he handcuffs his teammates and forces them to fit into the system around them. Remember, this is the first season that Anthony Davis is actually taking more shots on average than LeBron James is. The first year. They've been playing in LA together for 6 seasons. Anthony Davis should have been leading the Lakers from the minute he got there. He's been the best player on that team since he got there. LeBron James has not, but they promoted him as such. Even to this day, Kane and Jet Smith, LeBron James, second best player in the NBA. Kane and Jet Smith thinks that LeBron James is the second best player in the league. So once again, it exposes this era of NBA as being fraudulent. You're telling me that LeBron James in year 22, who hasn't played a lick of defense in years, who loudly gags around on the court, who has no leadership, that's constantly crying and moaning during plays, you're telling me that guy who has no overall game, turns the ball over at a high volume, drives down the lane with the most basic, boring game, pushes off his off arm, travels and carries the ball everywhere. That guy is the second best player in the league currently. That exposes this level of NBA, and that exposes Kane and Jet Smith as, once again, not having any integrity and not being truthful, not educating the fans out there. So they need to take this man off of TV. He should not be allowed to talk basketball any longer with an insane take like that coming into the season. It makes no sense. So once again, we talk about longevity. Let's think about comparison between a longevity between Karl Malone and LeBron James. Now, off the top, guys, when you look at this, it's Karl Malone easily has way more longevity. Way more. So Karl Malone played 19 seasons in the league. The man was literally all NBA first team every single year, essentially, from like his 3rd or 4th year in the league. Remember, Karl Malone, I believe, came in the 1985-86 season, 1 year after John Stockton came in. And every year, essentially, literally every single season that Karl Malone played in the NBA, except for his last year in the league when he played 42 games, Really, only time he missed a significant amount of time. This man played either 80, 81, or 82 games. He played 82 games 10 times. 10 times, Karl Malone. 82 games 10 times. LeBron James has played 82 games one time. And once again, we must remember, this is in the 2018 weak, soft, fraudulent era of NBA. This is not Karl Malone. From 1990 to 2000, Karl Malone, literally, this man never missed any games. Never missed games. You're talking about 10 times this man played 82 games. The other years that though he didn't play 82 games, he played either 80 or 81. He never missed more than 2 games in a season, except for that last year when he was on the Los Angeles Lakers at 40 years old. That's the only season of his entire career that he missed more than 2 games. That's insane. I didn't even realize that when I looked at Karl Malone's numbers here and I saw how many games this man played. He never was not there. And you know what's funny, guys? What do I tell you in this channel? When I was growing up, I knew I turned the TV on, they were going to be there. And when I looked at Karl Malone's games played, it confirmed what I knew as a kid growing up, what I remember. These guys were always there. Karl Malone was always there. John Stockton was always there. They were always there together. That's what made the Utah Jazz so formidable, so consistent. Was the play of Karl Malone, which was very consistent, the play of John Stockton, which was very consistent, and the fact that they were there consistently allowed them to lead their team consistently. So when we think about longevity in terms of games played, showing up for work, being out there on the court for your team, it's hands down Karl Malone. Hands down. Way greater as far as being prepared, being on the court, just being there as far as games played available. It's Karl Malone, hands down. 10 times you played 82 games, Karl Malone. He either played 80 or 81. You got LeBron James out there playing 70-something games, 40-something games, 50-something games, 60-something games. This man's missed many, many games. And once again, it's not just about LeBron James missing games, right? Because players miss games. They get hurt. They get injured. Things happen. The problem for this era, LeBron James, they're missing games for no reason. They're just out of games because they're out of games. They're load managing. Karl Malone didn't load manage. So Karl Malone's longevity as far as games played, the availability right there, hands down Karl Malone. And we must also think about keeping yourself in shape. When you look at Karl Malone's physique and you look at LeBron James' physique, who's more impressive? To me, Karl Malone's physique was much more impressive. When you look at LeBron James and they say he's 6'9", he's 260 pounds, I question these numbers. When you look at LeBron James and the way he's built, he's not super muscular to me. I'm not impressed at all with the LeBron James who spends millions on his body, he says. So all this time and energy, all the advantages he has over a Karl Malone as far as advancements in training and medicine and nutrition, the amount of money that he's getting paid versus what Karl Malone was getting paid. He has all the advantages on his end. Except yet still Karl Malone's physique looked much more impressive. You guys remember when Karl Malone was in WWE, he went to WWF or WCW, one of those he did. And you know, you see that picture of Karl Malone without his shirt on? You're telling me that guy's the same size as LeBron James? LeBron James weighs the same amount as Karl Malone? And it's not just the size of these men, it's what they're actually doing, preparing for the season. Karl Malone actually trained. This man was running up hills. He was doing grown man workouts. LeBron James out there on Bosu balls and holding kettlebells upside down and doing all these fluff routines. They're doing these weird workouts, man, that ain't working. I told you, these guys don't train like grown men. They train like weirdos. They got these trainers that are trying to reinvent the wheel. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the old school training methodologies of guys like Karl Malone, of guys like Jerry Rice, of guys like Walter Payton, these are legendary workouts. Legendary from the 80s. And it works. Why? Because there's no nonsense approach to training that these guys had. LeBron James, we all know he's got some chemicals going on. He's been doing some other stuff because there's no way in hell you're doing all these fluff workouts that I've seen LeBron James post. I'm not impressed at all. And you're going to look that way. Or once again, what else are you doing behind the scenes? So when we think about keeping yourself in shape, which goes along with why Karl Malone was so available so consistently, the training, whatever Karl Malone was doing training-wise, was superior to what LeBron James is currently doing. Karl Malone was out there, once again, playing in an era, playing a position, power forward, where you're battling down low every single night against legit big men. You're banging down low in a physical era. This is what Karl Malone was dealing with, but he was still able to be there 82 games every single season, essentially. LeBron James plays in a complete opposite kind of league where it's soft and there's no physicality, but LeBron James always out. He's always banged up. He's always missing games. So once again, it exposes LeBron James and his lack of toughness, overall grit. Right? We think about longevity. We think about grit and toughness. It's clear that Karl Malone had more grit, more heart. Right? He was just a tougher individual person, a tougher player. It's just the way it went. LeBron James is not that tough, man. Once again, he doesn't have that kind of heart, that level of grit of a Karl Malone. So right now, if the jump to longevity is easily goes to Karl Malone. When we talk about LeBron James, never won an MVP in his 30s, right? We talk about that all the time. You know who won multiple MVPs in their 30s, guys? Karl Malone did. So Karl Malone's first MVP did not come until he was 33 years old. 33 years old in 1997, Karl Malone won his first MVP. 33 years old, guys. That's pretty damn impressive. Your first MVP comes in the tail end, the back end of your career. The last 5 years or so of your career. This is when Karl Malone wins an MVP. That's called longevity. That's called being consistent. When you look at Karl Malone, what I think of when I hear the name Karl Malone, I think of consistency. I don't think of a guy that raised his level of play when it mattered most, or he went down, at certain aspects. Karl Malone was just consistent. Right across the board, you knew what you were going to get, whether it was the postseason or the regular season. You were going to get 27, 28 points a game from Karl Malone, right? Somewhere around there. You were going to get somewhere between 9, 10, 11 rebounds from Karl Malone, 2 or 3 assists. That's what you're going to get. Maybe you get a steal from Karl Malone. That's what you're going to get across the board. Every single night, every single season, whether it's the postseason or the regular season, he's going to be the same. 27 and 10, 3 assists. That's Karl Malone right there. Boom. That's called consistency. That's what I think about when I think Karl Malone. I don't think about a guy that was like, when it was clutch time, he was going to be the clutch time performer. He was going to be that guy that come through at the end of the games. A lot of times that was John Stockton that took that role on. Karl Malone was not really known as a clutch performer. Like I said, if anything, people would know Karl Malone for a guy that struggled sometimes in those clutch moments. But you knew what you were going to get from him as far as stats go. You knew what he was going to do every single night. 27, 10, 3 assists, right? This is what they celebrate LeBron James for. Oh, LeBron James will give you 27, 7, and 7 every single night, consistently, right? But when you think about the course of their careers and the longevity, and we talk about the all-defensive teams, I want you guys to understand something. Karl Malone made 4 all-defensive teams in his career. 3 all-defensive firsts and 1 all-defensive second team, right? That's pretty damn good for a 19-year career. Like I said, especially playing in an era where he played in when you're going against some of the greatest defensive players in the history of the game. All right, remember, he's battling against Dennis Rodman for these all-defensive teams, right? All these forwards that play there. Scottie Pippen, that counts, guys. There's no power forward and small forward all-defensive team. There's 2 guards, there's 2 forwards and a center. That's normally more often than not how it breaks down. Yes, sometimes you might have 3 guards. Sometimes you might have 3 forwards. I've seen that before. But more often than not, it's 2 guards. It don't matter if it's point guards or shooting guards. And it's forwards. It doesn't matter if it's small forward or power forwards. So when Scottie Pippen's making all defensive teams in the 90s and Dennis Rodman's making all defensive teams in the 90s, that's who Karl Malone's going against. That's his direct competition at the forward position for all defensive teams, right? So when you talk about the legendary defenders that were playing in the NBA in the 80s and the 90s, also guys like Kevin McHale making all defensive teams in those mid to late 80s, that's his direct competition. When we think about Karl Malone when he first came in the league in those late 80s, guys like Rick Mahorn making these defensive teams, right? So if we think about that, the competition is much stiffer for a Karl Malone battling against these legendary big men. He's going against Hakeem Olajuwon. He's going against Shaquille O'Neal. He's going against Charles Barkley. He's going against David Robinson. He's battling against these guys. They may have been centers. Karl Malone battled against these guys. He played against those dudes, man. They guarded him. He guarded them. That's the way the NBA was back then, man. All these great players, right, taking on the challenge, the competition. So, Karl Malone makes 4 all-defensive teams. Like I mentioned, LeBron James has 6 all-defensive teams, and now in his 22nd season. Karl Malone played 19 seasons, and he made 4 all-defensive teams, 3 firsts. LeBron James has made, 5 all-defensive first teams and 1 all-defensive second team in his career. But I've told you guys what? LeBron James has never made an all-defensive team in his 30s. So once he turned 30, all that stopped. It just completely stopped. Once he left Miami, he stopped giving the effort like that. Once he left his super team and he was front running, he no longer made the all-defensive team. And that's when the load managing, that's when the lollygagging, that's when LeBron James decided to load manage more, right? Sacrifice wins for stats. That's when everything changed for him as far as the focus. He wasn't focused on winning anymore. It all became about the numbers, chasing the numbers. He knew he couldn't catch Michael Jordan in accolades and championships, so he thought, let me sacrifice defense, let me sacrifice my integrity, and just try to put up more stats. And then that way, that'll show and prove that I'm the greatest player of all time. But that's not going to work. That's not going to get it done because, once again, you sacrifice too much to get this. When we think about Karl Malone made all-defensive second team in his second year in the league. A lot of people don't realize this. Second year in the league, he made all-defensive team. He did not make an all-defensive team again, guys. Until when? Until he was 32 years old. 32 years old. Right? 1997. Karl Malone, or 33 years old, whatever he was, Karl Malone, 1997, I believe, made all-defensive first team. 1997, 1998, and 1999, guys. 3 years in a row at 33, 34, and 35 years old, Karl Malone made an all-defensive first team in his early or mid-30s. 33, 34, 35. LeBron James ain't sniffing that, guys. Hasn't even made an all-defensive second team in his 30s. Not at 30, not at 31, or 32. Karl Malone, meanwhile, made all-defensive first team at 33, 34, and 35 years old. So right there, that kind of shows and highlights and proves that Karl Malone's longevity was greater. He was greater at a later age than LeBron James was. These are the facts. And once again, Karl Malone did not load manage in his 30s. He didn't load manage to get to that point. He played 82, 81, 80 games every single season. 10 times this man played 82 games, guys. Go look at Karl Malone's games played. Go look at how many times you see an 8 in front of that. Either 80, 81, or 82, guys. Literally every year except for 1999, which was a lockout-shortened season. And I believe they only played 50 games. I believe Karl Malone played 49 of the 50 games. And his last season in the NBA at 40 years old, what was that, the 2004 Lakers? He played on. He only played, I believe, 42 games that season. He had an injury. And I believe his mother died that season, if I remember correctly. And that was part of the problem, or part of the reason why he did not come back and play the next season. But every year this man was out there on the court, man. Like I said, he showed up to work, not LeBron James. And Karl Malone was just great on the defensive end later in his career than LeBron James was. So once again, longevity goes to Karl Malone, right? It goes to Karl Malone as far as MVPs, and it goes to Karl Malone as far as all defensive teams and playing defense and being impactful on the defensive end. It's clearly Karl Malone, right? He won 2 MVPs after his 30th birthday, going against guys like Michael Jordan for MVPs in 1997, right? Winning that MVP over Michael Jordan, right? At 33 years old. And then he won again in 1999 at 35 years old. And I believe to this day, it's Karl Malone and Michael Jordan as the oldest MVPs in the history of the game. Michael Jordan was 35 years old in 1998. Karl Malone was 35 in 1999. And they both won MVPs at 35 years old. So in NBA's history, there've only, as far as I know, there's only been 2 players to win MVP at 35 years old. And it's Karl Malone, Michael Jordan. Not LeBron James. LeBron James was 35 a long time ago, guys. How come LeBron James didn't win an MVP at 35? How come LeBron James hasn't won an MVP at 36 or 37 or 38 or 39 years old? How come he never won an MVP in any of these years? He never even won one at 30. He hasn't won an MVP since he left Miami. And the crazy thing is that LeBron James has 4 MVPs. Karl Malone has 2. And once again, this is not a comparison for who's ranked higher or who's greater all time. We're comparing longevity here. Karl Malone won 2 MVPs playing for the Utah Jazz, right? At his 30s, 33, 35 years old. LeBron James won 4 MVPs, and 2 of those MVPs we've talked about came on his super team, his Miami Heat super team that he put together. Does anybody respect those 2 MVPs that he got? You know, I hear people talk about Steve Nash a lot. Oh, Steve Nash robbed Shaquille O'Neal. He robbed Kobe Bryant. You know, they always attack Steve Nash's MVPs as, you know, he didn't earn those. They're not legit. And yes, you can make an argument that maybe Steve Nash should not have won back-to-back MVPs. To me, Steve Nash is absolutely worthy of winning an MVP. He's absolutely an MVP-worthy player. To me, the impact he had on those Phoenix Suns teams, the impact that they had on the NBA, right? Think about how they were playing the game. And like I said, his overall game. Steve Nash was absolutely a legit MVP contender, or MVP candidate. But they always love to attack Steve Nash. How come no one ever worries about LeBron James' frauds and MVPs that he got on the stacked super team Miami Heat that he won in 2012 and 2013? They literally gave this man MVP awards on a stacked team playing in the weakest Eastern Conference in the history of the game. But they gave 2 MVPs. So we could easily say that Karl Malone and LeBron James each have 2 MVPs that they actually earned. Those other 2 MVPs of LeBron James, he didn't earn those. They gave those to him as fraudulent. On a stacked super team Heat, you get 2 MVPs? That's a joke, man. Karl Malone had to earn his actual MVPs, man. And like I said, he did it in his mid-30s, man. LeBron James can't sniff that. While he was winning MVPs in 1997 and in 1999, he was also making the first team all defense. LeBron James ain't sniffing that. Not in his 30s. Not in his 30s, man. So when we talk about the longevity, LeBron James versus Karl Malone, to me, it's hands down Karl Malone's longevity is greater. He was out there. He was more durable. He was tougher. He was there more often, more consistently than LeBron James had. And he was there more often and more consistent on the defensive end. Karl Malone actually was there on defense. He wasn't walking up and down the court. He wasn't having the Utah Jazz play 4-on-5 on the other side. He wasn't crying and moaning with the referee while the play's going on. You didn't see that. Karl Malone was always playing defense, right? Just because he didn't make an all-defensive team doesn't mean he wasn't playing defense. LeBron James hasn't made an all-defensive team, but he's not playing defense. You can see him not playing defense. It's not that he's not even effective. He's not even playing it. So you've been playing for 22 years, but it's fraudulent. You would not be playing this long if you gave the effort that Karl Malone did every single season, every single night, playing defense, right? Showing up to work for 82 games. LeBron James would not be playing today. That's why his longevity is fraudulent. So, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that Karl Malone's ranked above LeBron James all time. He's a greater player all time. But I think it's clear that Karl Malone's longevity was just greater than LeBron James. Right? Just greater than LeBron James. He was greater later into his career. He was more consistent, and the impact was there. The Utah Jazz win the NBA Finals in 97 and 98, while Karl Malone was winning an MVP and on the all-defensive first team. LeBron James in his 30s hasn't done that. He ain't never won an MVP and been an all-defensive first team while winning a championship in his 30s. Never did that. Karl Malone was in the championship in his 30s, winning an MVP and on the all-defensive first team. LeBron James ain't sniffed that in his 30s. Ain't sniffing it. Ain't won an MVP in his 30s. Ain't been to the finals and made an all-defensive first team in his 30s, guys. So the longevity's hands down Karl Malone. Karl Malone's actually a better free throw shooter than LeBron James. And he's not a great free throw shooter, Karl Malone, but LeBron James is that mediocre from the free throw line. Karl Malone, 71% for his career. What's LeBron James, 73, 72? It's an absolute joke, man. But LeBron James is supposed to be more of a perimeter-oriented player than Karl Malone, right? Can't shoot free throws better than Karl Malone. Karl Malone had a better mid-range game than LeBron James. He was a better rebounder than LeBron James. He was tougher than LeBron James. He was better on defense more consistently than LeBron James. And we talk about leadership. LeBron James ain't leading nobody. Now, Karl Malone may not be the leader of a John Stockton was, but Karl Malone led by example by being there every single night and giving that effort and performing. You knew what you were going to get from Karl Malone, right? He was going to go out there. I can tell you, he was going to go up there, 27 points, 10 rebounds, couple of assists, man. And he was going to bang down low. He was going to battle. He was going to be tough. He was going to throw those elbows, all of that. He was going to be there. So much respect to Karl Malone. Like I said, his longevity is, to me, is just clearly greater than LeBron James. No, LeBron James lollygagged for years to still be playing today. Karl Malone kept himself in shape, showed up to work more consistently, and he played in an era where guys were banging down low, battling. You guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.